When you have trained your 7-year-old to act like that for the camera and to film it and to make content out of it, to make it a bit in order to grow your social media on TikTok because you were unable to do that individually. So you had to bring your daughter, and it's giving peaked in high school, but can't give it up. She cannot give it up. And she's a failure as a parent. That is a failure as a parent. Okay, guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. So I've been doing some thinking, and I think I have traced the literacy crisis that we have going on right now back to influencers. Yep, think I did. Just kidding. But I have been noticing something, and I think it's something that a lot of us, especially if you are here watching this video right now, you're on my channel a lot, you've been noticing this too, I'm sure. And it's that more and more kids are being taught how to be influencers before they even fully learn how to read, write, or navigate basic life skills. And while we spend a lot of time, in general on my channel, and just, I feel like the media talks a lot about family vloggers. There's this whole other side of the conversation that just does not get nearly enough attention, and it needs to. And that is parents pushing their kids to become mini influencers on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and beyond. Family vloggers get the spotlight, but in reality, the bigger exploitation in 2026 is happening with short form content. Why? Because it's easier to film, it's easier to post constantly, and it's just easier to scale. The content is fast and the kids are always on display. This new wave of influencers is definitely on the rise. It's a trend and it is not a good one. It seems like we're no longer letting kids be kids. More and more parents are training their kids to perform for an audience before they even understand what an audience is. And it's a conversation that definitely needs a deeper discussion, so let's get into it. So, not gonna lie, there was a specific TikTok account that sort of sparked this idea for me, and it's a mom on TikTok named Lauren Elizabeth Graham. And in almost every single video, it's her son lip syncing something. And the videos do insanely well. I'm talking millions and millions and millions of views. But what kind of stood out to me is that if you scroll back on this mom's TikTok, her content wasn't always her son. It kind of seemed like it used to just be mom content. Maybe her kids were in some videos, but they weren't the focus. And her views were normal. They were okay, but they are nothing like what she is getting now that her son is front and center in her content.
Why you worried about her location, player? You know she with me. Quit bothering us.
So you get the point. He's in a ton of her videos. And that's when it kind of got me thinking about, how when parents start doing this with their kids, and it's usually always just one kid that they're pushing out more, even if they have a few, but that it starts to feel less like sharing your life, sharing mom content, and more like training your kid to be an influencer. And the thing is, this mom, she's not an anomaly, right? She is just one of a sea of parents on TikTok who are doing this with their kids. A lot of parents have figured out that what really drives views, what actually helps to grow their platform, is their kid, specifically their child performing in a way that mirrors influencer behavior. Again, take this mom, Lauren, for example. Once she started using her son and gaining millions and millions of views, gaining traction, she got a brand deal from Five Below, but it wasn't her in the ad. It was her son. So not only is her son leading all of her content, he is leading the brand deals. So that brand, Five Below, reached out to her for a deal, for a brand deal, probably paid her, I can't even imagine how much money, but they said, "We want your son in the video." So then the question becomes, what happens when these kids get older and they don't want to do these kind of videos anymore? They don't want to do lip syncing videos with their mom. How do you replace that? How do you fill that gap? Especially if it becomes a main source of income like it does for so many of these influencers who quit their job as a nurse or a teacher or whatever to do influencing full time. And honestly, what I think a lot of them are going to be doing is exactly what they're doing right now. Stay with me, I have a point. Because something that we're starting to see come full circle is this: all that time some of these kids have spent being put online by their parents, it wasn't just content. It was basically career conditioning, whether they realized it or not. Okay, for example, take someone like Jordan Matter with his daughter. She has been a central part of his content since she was really young, basically the face of his channel. And now at 16, she has her own skincare line in stores like Sephora. She has signed an exclusive deal with Netflix to produce family friendly content and more. And it's like, of course she has. Of course. This almost feels like the next natural step when you grew up in that type of environment that his daughter has. When your whole life has been centered around being on camera, building an audience, and turning your personality into content, becoming an influencer isn't really a choice. It was the path that was laid out for you from the time you were probably 3. And I'm not even saying that she's not excited about all of this or that she doesn't want to do it. I'm sure she is. But that's kind of the point. When that's all you've ever known, your identity has been shaped around being online since such a young age. When did you actually get the space to consider anything else? It's like her personality has been packaged and built into a brand since she was a kid. So, yeah, launching a product line feels less like a random decision or a big dream that she had, and more like the inevitable outcome of how she was raised by her father. And the same thing applies to Savannah LeBrant's oldest daughter. Just like we were talking about before, she has been front and center, basically the face of Savannah LeBrant and Cole LeBrant's content since she was what, 3 years old? So now, fast forward of about a decade of being online since she was 3, she has her own skincare line. Again, of course she does. These kids never really had a traditional childhood to begin with, so why would their teenage years be any different? This path has been set for them a long, long time ago. For these kids, being an influencer, it wasn't something that they were going to start someday when they were adult. It starts for them right now. It started for them 10 years ago. There's no real off switch, no space to step back and figure out who they are outside of all of this or what else they might want. It's just a constant continuation of building a brand, one that started out as the family's, but eventually becomes their own extension of it. One that I'm sure the parents have no problem taking their 10% of down the road. They can be their momager or dadager, whatever, you know what I mean, the Kris Jenner 10%. Because again, many of these parents, they are thinking long term. They're thinking the wheels are spinning about what is going to happen when my child is an adult. What will I do for money? I need to be taken care of too. So I want to show you another example. We talked about a mom who is doing this with her son on TikTok. So I want to show you an example of a mom who is doing this with her daughter on TikTok. And I want you to keep in mind that this girl, her daughter, is 7 years old. So keep that in mind.
Oh my gosh.
Get ready with us to go to the mall and update on my mom's workout skills that she's been doing. She's been doing none of them. Toner.
I'm gonna pause it real quick because why is a 7-year-old putting toner on her face? Why does a 7-year-old know what toner is? Questions that I think this mom needs to answer.
You have to put it on. No, honey, that doesn't push your hair back.
Oh my gosh. That's quite enough.
So good. You have to make sure it's mixed in good, soaked into your skin. Dancy girl.
Okay, it's fine. We're just gonna start over.
We get to use these bronzy drops. Elf Halo Glow Foundation. Heart. New rule about my brushes.
Again, gonna pause it. She is putting on, it's not just like, oh, a little kid wanting to experiment with some lip gloss or blush. She's putting on concealer, again, a full skincare routine. Says she has all these brushes that are meant for thick, heavier products.
Taken away. Contour by Tarte.
Contour, because a 7-year-old needs to be contoured.
Hey.
Let me show you guys Patrick up close. Eyelash curlers actually do a lot. like cutting off your eyelashes sometimes.
I'm gonna show you guys a little compilation because that was mild compared to what this mom has her daughter doing on TikTok.
You couldn't get Dunkin' like the rest of us?
No,
Why not?
because Starbucks is better. Well, I asked them to put whipped cream in this too. I said a caramel macchiato, 2 pumps of white chocolate with whipped cream, but they did not put the whipped cream, and the whipped cream is the best part, but whatever.
Oh. Okay.
Get ready with me for my Barbie shoot. So first we need concealer. I have nowhere clue where my sponge is. Whatever. Oh shoot, I just put myself in the freaking hallway.
So yeah, that should make anyone feel uncomfortable, I would think. Again, this girl is 7, and the mannerisms, the way she's acting, the way she's talking, the products that she's using is that of a 22-year-old influencer. So she's either in 1st or 2nd grade. So she's still learning how to do the basics, the reading, the writing, the math, all the basics. But yet her mom has her doing full faces of makeup, skincare, everything that an influencer would do to gain traction on TikTok. Why is this a thing and why is it becoming more normalized? Why is this mother not getting called out for what she is doing? I am disgusted and I truly look at that as a failure of a parent. When you have trained your 7-year-old to act like that for the camera and to film it and to make content out of it, to make it a bit in order to grow your social media on TikTok because you were unable to do that individually. So you had to bring your daughter. And it's giving peaked in high school, but can't give it up. She cannot give it up. And she's a failure as a parent. That is a failure as a parent. Anyway, I'm going to show you another example, and it's the Garza crew. They're talked about a little bit. I don't know much, but when I was looking for content for this video to show you guys examples, um, they came up a lot. Sorry, I think I have allergies and my throat is dry. Anyway, they came up a lot, and so I wanted to show you. And actually, the mom from the last video is friends with the mom in this, TikTok account, whatever you want to call it. And they get all their girls together. All these moms get their girls together and they make TikTok content of these kids acting like they're in their early 20s. So
Let's do a shopping haul. This outfit is from Abercrombie and Fitch. I love the whole outfit. I'm obsessed with it. What I don't like about it is nothing. It looks perfect on me. I'm obsessed.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. We talked about this in my last video that I did, how influencers who are in their 20s and up talk, and they say, guys, I'm obsessed with this. So something tells me this girl who I don't know how old she is in this video, she looks 5 or 6 maybe, to be about 5 or 6. I don't think that she would talk like this if she wasn't being trained by her mother who's in the background, um, coaching her. Coaching her.
Guys, wait until you see this outfit. I'm obsessed. Look at these little studs. I love this. So cute. So cute, so cute. Outfit number 3, and this one's from Zara.
Does your
And
5-year-old
blue
know what
over
Zara is?
it. It's just so pretty. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. It screams Dubai.
It screams Dubai.
Oh my gosh, look at it. I love the dress. It is
What kid says that? It screams Dubai. Their outfit screams Dubai.
actually, it is so pretty. I love the green vibe. This one was the best for the last. I love it. Which one was your favorite? Peace out, bro.
I'm sick to my stomach. And that was one video out of many. This mom, I must have a bunch of kids or something. I don't know. What she's doing to her kids, though, it makes me ill. That should not be allowed on TikTok. That kid is being coached. Everything she's saying, she is being coached. But something else that we're seeing is entire accounts where the kid is the only face of the channel. And this is something that I don't know how much is on TikTok. I think it is more on YouTube. But I wanted to add it to this video because I do think it applies. But it's accounts where the kid is the only face of the channel. They're the ones talking, performing, influencing, and the parents are usually just off camera, quietly running the whole thing behind the scene. And it's bizarre because play used to, it should just be about imagination, kids just having fun. But in this space of the internet, it's about kids being watched. It's very strategic. It's about setting up the camera, getting the lighting perfect, having them retake certain shots of them playing with their dolls or their horses or whatever. And on an even stranger level, the audience for this is, primarily kids watching the kids play instead of just going and playing themselves, which, let's be honest, is kind of weird. And that could honestly be an entire conversation, an entire video by itself, because we're basically just stripping away childhood year after year. I feel like as the years go on, childhood is becoming such a smaller and smaller window of time, because what they're really doing with those type of videos is getting kids attached to screens at a younger and younger age, making content that kids get hooked on. Again, that could be a whole video, that could be a whole research study. That would be really interesting to look into. But circling back to those accounts where you never even see the parents, it almost feels like they know they're not the draw. They know they wouldn't bring in a crowd. Maybe they just don't want to be on camera. So the solution is easy. Use their kids. Make them the influencer and just target kids while you're at it. And at first, I'm sure those types of videos are fun for the kids because they just get to play with their toys and maybe they get new toys. But behind the screen, little channel plug, 'cause I said my name, subscribe. But behind the screen, it's the parents and they have a completely different mindset. This isn't just for fun because while the kids are playing with the toys, the parent is thinking in views, engagement, and ultimately money. And here's the thing with all of the types of content that we have talked about today on my channel, there's not a lot of research, long-term studies, data to tell us how this is going to affect the kids when they're adults. But there was a study done last year looking at the mental health of digital content creators, and the findings were alarming. They found high rates of depression, anxiety, burnout, and about 10% even reported having thoughts about unaliving themselves. And the thing is, this study was done with adults, not kids. And these were adults who chose to become content creators. So it made me think, how are these kid influencers going to think about all of this? What are they going to think about all this? How are they going to feel? Like I said, they were conditioned to become influencers. How are they going to feel about this when they realize they never had the choice? People in this study, they had the choice to become content creators. These kids didn't because their parents put them in these influencer roles. Again, before they could read, write, do basic math, any of that. I think a lot of us, myself included, get really nostalgic for the way that childhood used to be, maybe for your own childhood, back when we were kids before social media kind of took over. There was a sense of freedom, it was messy, it was unfiltered. Many of the kids, especially kids that we have talked about today, and there are so many more, they're not going to have that same nostalgic feeling about their childhood. Some will, sure, if their parents chose not to put them on the internet, not to turn them into mini influencers. But the kids we were talking about today and so many more, that experience of, an unfiltered, fun, messy, private childhood, it does not exist. And it's not about the 90s or previous decades being inherently better. It's about choice. Their parents chose to put them in front of the cameras, to build a brand around them instead of letting them just be kids. Because instead of allowing these kids to grow, to learn to read, write, all of that, instead, these parents are teaching them the best angle for TikTok, what a toner is, how to speak in a way that's fast-paced and keeps up with the TikTok algorithm. Heck, even what an algorithm is, these young kids know. It's all really depressing, and again, a failure on these parents' part. So I found this TikTok, and it's from a journalist who spoke with kids who were in this world. And so in this TikTok, she shares with us some of the wildest things that these kids have told her. So I'm going to show you this clip. It's very eye-opening.
These are the 9 craziest things that child influencers have told me. I'm Fortessa. I'm a journalist. Let's get into it. Claire, who first went viral as a toddler and who is part of a family that has over 1 billion views on YouTube, said that her dad once said to her, "I may be your dad, but I'm also your boss." I asked Claire what she would tell her parents if she could tell them anything, and she says nothing they do now will take back the years of work I had to put in. Vanessa, who was the child of a mom blogger, said that if she wasn't saying her line with enough enthusiasm or smiling big enough, she was accused of not caring about her family's livelihood, and her mom questioned if Vanessa wanted them to be able to make the payment the next month on the mortgage. One kid influencer told me that she didn't like to film content, so her mom would be like, just let me film it, I promise I won't put it online, and then later the kid would find it online. A kid who worked through their adolescence and reached the age of 18 found out that there was not a single dollar set aside for them, which is legal in all but 3 states. Number 7, Vanessa's first menstrual cycle was turned into sponsored content for a sanitary pad company. She said it was so mortifying that she wanted to crawl into a hole and never come out. I asked one content kid what their mom posted online, and they said it would be easier to tell you what my mom didn't post. And finally, Sherry Frankie, the daughter of former YouTube family vlogger and convicted child Ruby Frankie, said to the Utah legislature that the camera never stops and there's no break from filming and there's no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger.
And here's the thing, in this video, we didn't even talk about the really dark side to all of this. In this video, we have before, but obviously that's a huge component that it can't be ignored. I just didn't talk about it in today's video because I have talked about it a lot. I wanted to look at different angles for today, but yeah, that's a whole thing too that these parents know about and are just choosing to ignore. Gross. Something that I've heard a lot of people say, myself included, even in this video, is that these kids don't have a childhood. But honestly, the more I get to thinking about it, they do have a childhood. It's just not a normal one. It's not one that any kid deserves. It's a childhood where they have a job. They provide for the family. There's this underlying pressure to be on all the time, to be funny, interesting, likable, to wonder if they're doing enough or even are enough. And I think what would mess with me the most if I was one of these kids is not really knowing, is this just a normal moment I'm gonna have today or share with my parent? Do they really want to just spend time with me? Or is this about to turn into content? Because that line has to get blurry so fast because these parents look at anything as the potential to go viral. I mean, what that journalist just said, that that girl's first menstrual cycle became the opportunity, this mom or dad, or maybe both of them, they used it as an opportunity to get a sponsorship with a pad company. Again, these kids, their good days, their bad days, their big moments, their random moments, it is all filmed. And then there is this part of these kids' childhood that is very abnormal. They grow up with an audience. Most kids are not being watched, they're not being documented and followed by hundreds of thousands and millions of people. But these kids are. They know what followers are, they know what likes mean. They know what the potential to go viral is and what that potential would mean for their family. They're getting praise from strangers, but they're also getting hate from strangers, judgment. And a lot of times the parents even make that into content. Reading our hate comments with my 6-year-old. They're having to deal with judgment and opinions way earlier than anyone should have to. They're learning how to be perceived before they even fully know who they are yet. So, yeah, they do have a childhood. It just comes with a camera in their face 24/7 and an audience in the background, shaping it the whole time. Again, childhood, it used to be private, messy, unfiltered, a space for just growing, learning, and figuring things out without a camera shoved in our faces. But lately, with so many parents trying to turn their kids into the next biggest child star, childhood in general is starting to look a lot different. Now it's something that can be watched, shared, judged, monetized, and even turned into a massive business. And honestly, the fact that so many of these kids are being trained how to become mini influencers before they know all the other basics in life, that should alarm all of us. Seriously. And it's infuriating that it's not slowing down. If anything, it's only getting worse. And places like TikTok are not helping matters because filming a TikTok is so fast and easy. It's accessible to anyone with a phone. So these parents, they're seeing other parents do it and they're like, well, I have a phone, I have a kid, let's make some money. And that's it. No thought about their kids' lives, their childhood. Because at that point, all these parents are seeing is dollar signs. It's honestly, it's sick. I get pissed every time I make these kind of videos because when I see parents filming their kids who are 7 acting like they're in their early 20s and they're an influencer and it's the parents who are encouraging this and they're training them, I I don't understand it. I don't understand how any parent would think that's okay and why they would want to turn their kids into influencers. I just don't get how any money in the world would make that okay. Why is it why can't kids just be kids? Why are you trying to rob your kid from their childhood? I don't get it. But I do think that's going to be it for today. So if you stuck around, I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, I see you in my next video. Bye.